Cut. Good morning, everybody. Let us continue with Edison. And yesterday we talked about Edison's manners and depiction of manners and morals, and Edison as a commentator of manners and morals of society. Let me continue with the Edison's prose style, and today I am going to discuss with you Edison's prose style. The style is the man is a famous dictum. It is a very true of the style of Edison. Edison's contribution to the development of English prose cannot be overestimated because he perfected English prose as an instrument for the expression of social thought. There had been prose writers before him, but none could be said to have developed a style which reflected not only the personality of the writer, but the very character and genius of a nation. Edison has taken something from previous prose writers. He is a bit of a moralist, a preacher, an essayist, a philosopher, and a critic. But he brings together all these characteristics in his new capacity as a journalist, because as I had pointed out earlier, that Edison, in collaboration with Steele, had took out two journals, Tatler and Spectator, and that is why his prose style is also governed by the journalistic style. Edison's prose is compared to what went before it. It is nearer the language of conversation, but it is not the informal conversational style of Montaigne. It is free from rigidity and ultra-formal language with an accompanied sense of heaviness. It is similarly free of the levity and vulgarism that might find its way into common conversation. We are justified, says J.H. Fowler, in regarding Edison and his friend Steele as the founders of modern English essay and modern English prose, and the larger share of the achievement was Edison's. Edison was the inventor of what has come to be called the middle style. Edison is never familiar, and he is not to stand offish with the reader. He is in his style the picture of moderation, a virtue which he recommended to all his readers and wrote in favor of. He avoids all coarse expressions, he is always elegant, and above all, he is clear and fluent. The most striking feature of Edison's style is its clarity. Edison was writing for popular audience because journalistic style always demands clarity, and in consonance with that he maintained clarity which gained popularity for him. For a popular audience which he wanted, he should understand his works, for he aimed at their moral improvement. And that is why communication to the maximum people or to the masses, the massive communicative purpose was fulfilled only through the clarity. Thus we find that he never spared any pains to make his writing easily understood, but at the same time he wanted to slipshod writing for the sake of informality. He was always clear, fluent, and chose his words carefully and used them well. Even his long sentences present little difficulty to the reader to understand them fully. Such an example of a long sentence which fluently puts across the meaning to the readers is found in the beginning of the Meditations in the Westminster Abbey. At the very beginning he writes, "When I am in a serious humor, I very often walk by myself in the Westminster Abbey, where the gloominess of the place, etc., fill the mind with a kind of melancholy or rather thoughtfulness that is not disagreeable." We have another instance of his skillful handling of the long sentence in the same essay. "Upon this I began to consider with myself what innumerable multitudes of people lay confused together." I skip part of the sentence which you can fill up from the text, "and then weakness and deformity lay undistinguished in the same promiscuous heap of the matter." Unquote. Here ends the sentence. These sentences have a number of commas, are long and not obscure. The thought is clearly understood, and each sentence shows Edison's firm command over language that communicates perfectly to the audience. It is not only in the longer sentences that Addison shows his mastery. There are a number of short sentences in his essays which show his capacity for expressing his thought in a neat and compact manner. His ability to write in a short and compact style occurs in some of his essays. Clarity of thought is accompanied by a seemingly effortless refinement and elegance of language and expression. Addison is a master in the art of careful choice of words and in the careful arrangement of these words to produce the correct effect. His careful choice of words seems spontaneous because of his control over the language. His sentences show a flowing grace and rhythm which must have come with considerate revision and effort. But the credit goes to him that his style is not labor. That is, he has not made much effort. It is very natural. The thoughts, the ideas, the words come spontaneously and they very naturally get across to the audience. It also enhances the ironic effect also, which I am going to talk now. He does not use slang or coarse expressions, colloquial words or words of common domestic association. This led to the elegance which one has to come to associate with the name of Addison. He is selective in his use of words which are defined and refined. Thus we read about a common hand, very clearly referred to as that little modish machine and weapon in the essay fence. This also enhances the ironic effect. The inscriptions on the tombstones of Westminster Abbey are registers of existence. The Abbey and its graves, the great magazine of mortality in the essay Meditations in the Westminster Abbey. In the very essay, there is a passage which serves as an excellent example of Addison's felicity in the choice of words. He talks of the innumerable multitudes who were confused together under the pavement of their ancient cathedral. He could easily have said that many people were buried in the abbey, but instead of saying that, he has constructed the idea, the thought in a different manner. But his choice of words make the passage beautiful and refined even while it loses none of its clarity. What is more striking is that this elegance of expression enhances the ironic effect wherever he wants to. The structure of his sentences and essays also follow a middle course. They are neither too rigidly formal and tight, nor are they completely haphazard and loose. Addison did not indulge in unnecessary figures of speech merely to decorate his essays with ornamentative style. There is, after all, no striving after effect in his essay, but he did not hesitate to use them, if any, when they seemed necessary to him. Besides, Addison does not shrink from the employment of allusions and quotations wherever needed. There is a wide variety of allusions, mythological, biblical, historical, as well as literary. Each essay is headed by a quotation taken from classical or modern authors, and each is apt for the subject being dealt with in a particular essay. Addison aimed at reforming the public out of its vices and follies. He intended to do this through satirizing those vices and follies. But his satire is humorous, never bitter. Like all satirists, he used irony, but in his hand this became gentle because he is urbane and general. This irony is closely connected with humor. It is in fact the very essence of that humor. His laughter was intended to correct, not merely to amuse the audience or the readers. The humor tones down the deadly effect of irony, makes it smooth even while it is pointed out. The ironical effect is enhanced through the tone of the gravity and admiration employed by Addison. The irony is always gentle and civilized. The humor is purposive and never farcical. So Addison was thus moderate in all the aspects of style. This is conducive to an almost perfect English prose style. Let's conclude our discussion with a statement uh, by J.H. Fowler, who remarks that it was Edison more than anyone else who invented a middle style, something between the grave, stately diction of formal writing and the free and easy speech of everyday. A style suited, therefore, for addressing a wide circle of readers on a variety of subjects, unpretentious, admirably clear, dignified, but never stilted. No one can show us better how social intercourse may be bright and sparkling, yet elevated and elevated. Thank you.